Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a good Shabbos, a good weekend. We are picking up with our learning of Ethics of the Fathers, fascinating tractate which discusses about many of the ethical and moral principles in terms of character development. Today's learning is dedicated in memory of Binyamin ben Chaim, Heshka bas Chaim Halevi, Kela bas Levo ben Abraham, Lila bas Aryeh Lev, as well as Leah bas Bible, Tzivia bas Mordechai, Abraham ben David Slavin, Shlomo ben Yisrael Morris, Eliezer ben Shmuel Teret, Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Beres, Zipporah Fegela bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom ben Elieli, Bena bas Feivel, Fruma Shoshana bas Yaakov Shmuel. We wish all the families long life and only simchas in the years ahead. So as we said, we're picking up where we left off on Friday. Today's Mishna, we're going to do two. Both of them discuss about concepts and principles that, in fact, we learnt about when it came to the Masechtas Sanhedrin. There we discussed about the fact that the judges are meant to be impartial, in a position of neutrality, and to look at, not show favoritism to one of the litigants over the other. Says the Mishnah, Yehuda ben Tabai v'Shimon ben Shetar kiblu mehem. Yehuda ben Tabai Omer. So we've said the two names of the pair of next generation of sages. So he said as follows: Atas atzmacha ka'orichei hadayonim. Now we're familiar that whenever it comes to any type of litigation and court case, so you always bring along your lawyers, your QCs, your barristers. You have a team, a legal team that represents you. You can't just come on your own. Whereas in days gone by, in the good old days, it used to be that the defendants or the litigants would stand there and would be able and were expected just to speak for themselves. And therefore we were able to see through the veil or the smoke screen of the PR and image and branding, and be able to see if they were telling the truth or not. And therefore that's what our Mishnah is pointing out. It's not clear who it's referring to. Is it referring to the judges? This is advice for the judges, or perhaps for the litigants themselves. But you're not allowed to be coached or to receive coaching in terms of the claims of the various parties. You're meant to remain completely impartial, and therefore you're meant to be true to yourself, and therefore you're meant to just listen and witness the testimony that is being given in court. When the litigants initially stand in front of you, so let's take a monetary case, which is easier to explain. You're meant to look at them. You're meant to look at them initially when they arrive and are presenting their evidence, as if they are both wicked, evil, guilty. And that is because if you assume that they are both telling the truth, then you're going to be less discerning in terms of their evidence. But if it is that you say, well, actually, I'm not going to presume that they are telling the truth, you are going to be far more objective, curious, to be able to see whether they are telling the truth or not. And therefore, you are going to be exhaustive in your process of investigation. So therefore, that is the mindset that the judges are meant to have when they approach the investigations for the witnesses in order that they should see whether they are telling the truth or not, and whether the litigants themselves are telling the truth. Shimon ben Shetach Omer. So this is the next of the next Mishnah, which is following on from the previous one, similar theme. So not only do we look at the litigants, but also the witnesses. The previous Mishnah was discussing the litigants, and therefore we said you have to be very curious and not take their statements at face value, but make investigations, exhaustive investigations. So too with the witnesses. You're meant to ask them many questions and not to take their statements on at face value. And and to be careful with their statements. Perhaps you will discover that in fact they are saying a falsehood. Now, we should explain that this is in the process of the court case, in investigations. Of course, ultimately, we believe that a person does have a rebuttable presumption. We presume that people are innocent until proven guilty. But when we are investigating, when we are exploring to discover whether that matter is true or not, then we have to take the exact opposite approach. We have to presume that they're not telling the truth. And that will ensure that we do not leave any stone unturned, because it is important that we arrive at the truth. And that is important not just in terms of this world, in terms of this court of law, to discover whether which party is telling the truth or not, so the money is appropriately distributed to the correct party. But when a court is involved in any type of litigation and any type of carrying out of a legal process here, it is considered that they are actually acting on behalf of the heavenly court, and therefore you are trying to ensure that truth and justice prevails in the universe, in the world at large. They are emissaries of the Almighty. We want truth to exist in this world, so that truth will mirror the truth of the upper world, and therefore it is an imperative that there is no stone left unturned, and that every step is taken to ensure that justice prevails. That is the end of our learning for today. Fascinating Mishnayos, and tomorrow, just to give you a glimpse into what we will be studying, so we will be discovering about the concept of the Rabbanus. Is it something that we should run after or not? And many more interesting topics. So now we move on to chapter 23, the Psalm of the day. And when we speak about King David, who found himself in a difficult situation, he was on the run and his life was on the line, and there was many misconceptions about King David, who at that time found himself in a terrible predicament, and therefore assumptions, judgments were made about him. I think it is appropriate that we say it in view of the current situation when we are discussing about racism, and so often labels, stereotypes, and judgments are cast on people, not because of who they are, but simply because of their race. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. We now recite the memorial prayer for those for the Yorkshites that fall today, as well as for those that we are mourning because they have passed away during COVID. Es nishmas ben Yomin ben Chaim, Heshka bas Chaim Halevi, Kela bas Label ben Abram, Lila bas Aryeh Leib, Leah bas Bible, Sivia bas Mordechai, Abram ben David Slavin, Shlomo ben Yisrael Morris, Eliezer ben Shmuel Teret, Eliezer Shalom ben Abram Shmuel Beres, Zipporah Fegel bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom ben Eli ben Abbas Bible, from Rosh Hashanah bas Yaakov Shmuel, Shalchu li Olamam, Began Eden Tehim Nuchasam Lachim Balarachamim, Yatirein Besaita Kanafab Liolamim, Vitzrob Besachaim Dishmasam Adonai Nachlasam, Vianuchu Bashlam Mishkavam, Vanamar Amen. We wish long life to all those that are mourning their loved ones today, be it for a Yortzeit or be it in the course of the year of mourning. And now we conclude with the Refuah Shlema prayer. People should insert the names of those requiring a Refuah Shlema at the appropriate place. And of course, we will have in mind those that are suffering from coronavirus, and sadly, those that have been injured in the riots that have occurred around the world. Misha Berach Avestein Abraham Yisrael Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivarach Rapas Achelim. Babu shana mispalim babu rambis wasakash brochu yimale rachim alehem lachim alafosam vishlach lehem ufurshlim anashmaim lachol evrim basoch shacholiso rupuatsa nefesh fusakov hashtabagas makarev anamar amen. Wishing everyone a good day of health and happiness and success, and please God, peace in the world at large. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow for Mishna in the morning, and then tomorrow evening for the fascinating panel discussion with other faith leaders reflecting on the current situation. Take care. Be well.